Welcome to Real Estate Radio Live, an informative and engaging podcast discussing everything you need to know about the world of real estate. Your host, Joe Kuchera, provides you with insight and guidance on how to buy, sell, finance, and invest in real estate. He also offers real estate tax management strategies, new construction advice, home improvement tips, and much, much more. And now, to guide you around the world of real estate, here's your host and Real Estate Radio Live team leader, Joe Kuchera.
Welcome in, Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live. Thank you for those that are following us on Facebook, and continue to do that if you will. Normally, we are doing the show Monday through Thursday. On the Monday shows, we usually do it right about 11 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays, we're around 3 o'clock. Just for those that are interested in following the show or the topic, please do so. Again, Mondays we'll try to come on 11 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays at 3 o'clock, right around that time. This is a podcast. We appreciate the fact you're following us on Facebook, so thank you very much, and that continues to grow. But be sure to download the podcast if you haven't already done so. That way you could listen to the show at your convenience when it's good for you at any time. You could go to iTunes, just type in Real Estate Radio Live, Google+, Stitcher, even go to our website, RERL-1575.Accessing. You could get the podcast at the website as well. The focus of the show has been the same for almost 8 years now. It's education and information. So what we work really hard to do is provide great guests like today, return guests, different programs, series that we're doing. This is another series we're doing on accessing home wealth without debt. Most of you know we've been doing a series with Jack Russo on entrepreneurship, starting something new in Silicon Valley. And now we have another series going, Accessing Home Wealth Without Debt, and that'll be on Mondays. This is Joe Kuchera again with Real Estate Radio Live. I'm going to invite in my guest today, Steve Hotovec. Good to have you back, Steve.
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah.
Always a pleasure. It
is. Good topic. And, just to kind of bring those up to date, Steve and Mark was it 3 or 4 years ago? You were on the show, the radio show, when we were doing the live show, and had you guys on for a while. Had a lot of success, a lot of interest in the program. Had to go back, retool, get some things going, and now they're ready to go again. And it's great timing for a number of different reasons, and we're going to get into that today as we review it as well. So maybe we could do, as we normally do, Steve, give the listeners a bit about your background, and then Bearstone and the product here, and then we'll dive in.
Sure. Thanks, Joe. Our background, or Bearstone, started in 2014, and it was really born out of identifying a problem that is what we call house rich, cash poor. The majority of American homeowners have the majority of their net worth concentrated in the home. Right. And as you know, the home is it's America's favorite illiquid asset.
It's a good way
Most
to put it.
homeowners have anywhere between 60 to 70% of their entire net worth tied up in their home. So why is that a problem? Well, number one, the home wealth is a non-financial asset. That means that you can't take some money out of it easily. It can't easily convert it to cash. The second is that it is a concentrated asset. You have so much of it tied up. And we're not talking about new homeowners. We're really talking about folks that are normally in their maybe 50s, 60s, 70s. Right. And they're basically, people who are living longer now. So it's a demographic, or it's a baby boomer play, where they're looking, rather than getting more growth, they actually need to access the wealth and convert it into diversification, long-term care, income streams, those types of things. And those are the people that usually either are unwilling or unable to access it through the conventional means, which is, as you well know, take out a loan, maybe a reverse mortgage, some line of credit, or sell the house entirely. So in identifying that, what we developed was a new asset class, if you will, that is, and it goes by different, there are different programs to meet different needs, but they go by things such as equity sharing or home price movement agreements. And the nature of all these programs is they allow you to access a percentage of your home's wealth in exchange for sharing future appreciation or depreciation of the future price movement of the home. So the homeowner gets to keep and protect his or her current equity and is basically accessing cash without taking on the burden of debt for purposes of things that are more important than having more wealth tied up in your home.
That's very true. And the reason why this program is really important, and I think now in the next couple of years you'll see more and more, is that in general, if you think about this, if you're listening to this show, just think about for a minute or so as you're listening to this topic, what other things have changed in and around your life? Has the phone changed? Has automobiles changed? There's a lot of things that have changed. I'll tell you the thing that hasn't changed is the way people access equity from their home. It's the traditional mortgage. It's taking on debt. It's taking on a payment. Well, let's face it. It's been dictated by the big players, the lenders, and I get it. But it is time, just like everything else, in my opinion. If you've been following the show for a while, you know I'm a big believer of change and technology and different programs and things that really open people's eyes. I talk about these things all the time, and this is just another example. Think about all the traditional ways to access money, Steve. I mean, it's been limited. It's been limited.
You know, we're here in Silicon Valley, a home of innovation, right? Now let's talk about Airbnb.
Right.
Wow.
Good point.
Good concept. Now that was around for 10 years.
Yeah.
Before anyone really knew what it was. VRBO. Then you look at other products of the shared economy. I mean, heck, I was in Chicago last week. I must have spent $150 on Uber and Lyft. But I was happy to do it because I had someone, and then pick me up, take me to where I wanted to go. I didn't have to wait for a cab. I had a great ride. Somebody got there within 2 or 3 minutes. So it's technology combined with the ability to. The shared economy is a combination of two things. It's technology allowing someone to monetize an idle asset.
Right.
So in Airbnb, or if you look at in home price movement agreements, the homeowner's already got the home. The financial institution that's looking to get exposure, you always have to look at what's in it for both sides.
Right, sure.
Right? The homeowner wants access to cash, but doesn't want to take on the burdens of debt. The investor, institutional investors that back these products and create this liquidity are interested in participating in the future price movement of residential properties or townhomes or condos without the burden of physical property ownership. And it's that structuring and contracting that actually allows this asset class to be born.
Yeah. And it's not the same thing, Steve, but think about for those that are trying to really, connect the dots too and kind of get a better idea. People for years finally realized they could invest in REITs, right? Sure. Invest in property, invest in whether they own big pieces, large pieces, there's syndications, there's all kinds of things out there that allow people to invest in real estate. The investors are really doing the same.
It's just the evolution of things. It's really interesting. The most common questions that we get from homeowners that we face, or we face those homeowners because we are referred in from financial planners, advisors. On paper, you're worth millions, but in the bank, you maybe have hundreds of thousands, right? So the disproportionate amount. So in the commercial real estate space, such as the REIT space, you have equity, debt, preferred equity. You have a full, what we call capital stack. In the homeowner's equation, up until now or until recently, it was really debt, and all the equity risk was taken by the homeowner. This actually effectively allows a homeowner to peel off a piece, transfer some of the risk over to an institutional investor, and it's a win-win scenario. And it can allow the homeowner to have a more balanced and diversified portfolio without strapping on more debt. As we get older, we want to reduce debt, not take on.
That's
so it's really kind of crazy. You pay off your house, and then you go, well, would you like to get some money, cash out of it? We'll go back in debt.
Yeah, and what do you hear people talk about all the time? I hear it all the time. Someone will say, well, Joe, if I sold this house and that house, I could go somewhere and buy another house and have this. Well, that's the problem. Then they stop, and they think, but if I sold it, tax consequences, why, is it time, all those kinds of things. So the idea is access. So if you're listening to the show again and you're in the category, and again, maybe you're listening to the show and you have a parent, a grandparent, aunt, uncle, coworker that may be interested, pass this information on to them. Are you looking to access capital money from your home, right? Accessing that wealth without debt. That's right, without payments, and there's a formula behind it, but this would, again, for anybody that's looking to access money, and maybe you want to remodel, maybe you want to pay off some student debt, maybe you want to travel, maybe you're in your home, like Steve says, a lot of people, I see this all the time, and we're in a unique area, and I think this is probably why I see it all the time, and I think you do, Steve. It's worth reminding the listeners what we see, and what I see is people that I talk to on a fairly regular basis that are trying to figure out, Joe, how do I do this? So we sit down and talk to them. I just had, again, someone this past week. Pretty typical, 70s or 80s, right? They're in their 70s, 80s, late 60s. Unfortunately, no pension. They're on Social Security. They're forced to work part-time still, and they don't really want to. And yet they have this home that's worth $1 million plus, and they owe almost nothing or very little on the home.
Sure.
What are your alternatives?
You're limited.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times people just gloss over what's actually happened in the banking space. So when we went through the financial crisis, you heard all these stories about folks that are working at a fast food restaurant and said, oh, that's good enough, we'll get you a loan, and they own 2 or 3 houses and had no means to actually pay. So what's ended up happening as a result of the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau, or CFPB, is they brought back things to more stringent underwriting. So now it's a very heavy emphasis on the ability to repay. And so for a homeowner that has, in your example, a fully paid for home, well, if they don't have W-2 income or a way to repay that loan, what are they going to do? But they could have the home fully paid for. So then they're stuck with that binary situation, which is sell the home, pay all the taxes, and in comes an equity share or a home price movement agreement. That's very attractive. And there's also situations, when I'm sure you run into it in the mortgage space all the time, people want to go and get a cash out refi. Well, they seem to get, I can only get this much, but I have all this equity. Well, but you don't have the income, because the bank always wants to get repaid. These products are backed by pension funds, endowments, foundations, institutions that have long duration money that are investing this as a complement to their already existing fixed income portfolio.
We'll take a break in just a minute or so. But here's where I also see a big benefit or opportunity for this program, Steve, is someone that, locked in a 15-year fixed at 2.5%, or a 30-year fixed at 3 3.5 or 3 3/8. A couple of years ago when they hit an all-time low, and now they need to access money, and they have an equity line, and the rate's constantly going up an equity line because the Fed's raising, or they really need money and they don't want to touch that first loan. This is another opportunity, isn't it? Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, that's a great point. There's several nuances, and I always have to be reminded that this can work and play well with debt. So in your example, if a homeowner had a first mortgage at a 3.5-4% rate, and they had a home equity line of credit, they, within certain guidelines, lean to value guidelines, we could come in additionally and provide them a home price movement agreement that could give them up to, say, 20% of the home's appraised value, and sit behind both the first and the second. Now, we don't want people to get over-leveraged, because the risk that the institutions or investors are taking is secured by the equity. That's the most important thing, is the equity. Or they could pay off that home equity line of credit. Or in a case as today where interest rates have bumped up a little, I don't think it's gotten crazy. We're just used to those low rates. Everybody wants to, you can't time the bottom and you can't time the top. But they can make an intelligent move. They could, let's say that they might want to go from a 30-year to a 15-year, but they just don't have enough income. They could do this product, reduce it, pay them home off sooner. So there's numerous uses by being able to use equity in conjunction or in lieu of using debt.
Yeah, good point. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We're continuing to talk to Steve Hotovec here, and we're talking about accessing home wealth without debt. That's right, without debt, actually accessing home wealth without monthly payments. And we're going to take just a quick 1-minute break. For those that are following us on Facebook, stick with us. We'll continue in just a minute. Thanks.
For more information on today's program, visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com.
Getting ready to buy or sell a home in 30, 60, or 90 days? Check out bundleselect.com to find out how you could save 20% or more on your entire transaction, real estate, lending, and title. With bundleselect.com, technology and a personal concierge are at your service to save you time and money. Bundle Select's hand-picked team of experts will compete for your business so you'll save thousands of dollars by bundling real estate, lending, and title services. Bundleselect.com gives you all the control, including using your own realtor. I'm Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live, and I have been on the radio educating consumers for years. I'm here to tell you bundleselect.com is the best way to save money on real estate. By bundling services, you could save tens of thousands of dollars. This savings model could save you money on your move, lower your interest rate, or cover your closing costs. Visit bundleselect.com. That's bundleselect.com.
The estimated minimum savings are based on a comparison with the national average. Individual results may vary, and the estimated savings are not guaranteed. Bundle Select Inc. is a licensed real estate broker. California Bureau of Real Estate Broker license number 004666902.
Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Live. For more information on today's topic or guests, just visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Again, your host for today's edition of Real Estate Radio Live, Joe Kuchera.
Welcome back in. Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live. Thank you again for those that are joining us live on Facebook. And if you're downloading the podcast and listening to the show today, thank you for all those that download thousands and thousands of times each month. We continue to grow, and really our primary objective is always the same. You've heard me say this before, and I'll continue. It's good for me to repeat it to the audience because I'm committed to it, and that is I want to be able to provide valuable content for the consumers every single day, every single show. I don't want to be one of those shows that you just check in or listen to and someone's citing statistics or reading something off a newspaper or online or, giving you an update on stuff you already know. I hope that each day in each program we get you thinking, engaging, and wondering, boy, I didn't know about that. I didn't think about that. I wish I knew about that. I'm going to share this with my family members. Those are the types of shows, the type of content and information we want to try to provide, and that's why we're having Steve and Mark on with Bear Stone. We're talking about accessing home wealth without debt, and we're back talking with Steve Hotovec, who's in studio today. Steve, the other thing I was thinking about, what caught my attention right before the break, is so you could also, and this people do this too, so you have a great loan, and maybe it's 3.5% or it's a 15-year fixed, and you think, well, I don't really want to accelerate the payments. I don't really have the money. I don't want to take money from my retirement and buy it. But I'd love to be able to buy that loan down. I owe $500,000. I'd love to be able to buy it down to, $350,000, $400,000. There's so many different reasons you could access capital from your home to do these different creative solutions, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We get that question all the time. For example, when we talk with accountants, attorneys, financial planners, they say, well, who's your ideal client? And then we have to say, well, let's take in your scenario, someone that has credit card debt.
Right. Sort
of a no-brainer. Just reducing debt reduces stress, and because it reduces the monthly outflow, it reduces your interest payments and cash. Then you go to the next level. Do I want to reduce my home loan debt, right? So they normally look at the stack of what things that they have. Some people may have medical debt. There are folks out that have had things like tax liens. You have a tax lien and you have to pay off a tax lien. So you have folks that are on both ends of the spectrum. You have those that really can't qualify for a loan but have a lot of equity. Those are absolutely a great credit repair strategy and get things back on track. Might have had a medical emergency or medical bills. Think life happens. Right?
Yeah.
Then on the other end, you have folks that are so lopsided that they have a 401k, they have a pension fund, but they don't really have enough. When that starts converting over into income generation, is like, well, I'm going to be working until I'm 90.
Yeah.
So I need to transfer some of that wealth that I have in the home into the income generation.
Yeah.
One of the things that we're working on, will be out probably in the next month or so, is a suite of tools so that folks can come in and plug in. This is my home. This is how much equity I have. This is where I'm located. and a couple other easy financial facts and say, okay, how does this work? Is this better than a loan? Should I do it with a loan? What are you trying to accomplish?
Got it.
And it's usually the big three, which is debt reduction, retirement, and then the third is generation planning, estate planning. Yeah. Those big three, everything else sort of falls in.
Yeah, what I want to do, because it's a good exercise, let's just go through the next minute or so and talk about all the different things we're seeing people and people could use this for. The obvious one, paying off debt. You talked about maybe credit challenges. We've seen people pay off student loans. We've seen people consolidate loans. We mentioned taking out home equity lines, starting a business. Right, we talked about the benefits of that.
That's a really big one. Starting a business, and let's not forget developing your property, like we've talked about it before, but an accessory dwelling unit where I'm taking the wealth that's locked in the home, I'm developing the property that the home, resides on, and I'm generating cash flow, or I'm just making the value of that property. I know that's a near and dear to your heart.
It is. Personally, I probably love that one the most because...
Well, that one, the math all works.
Right.
There's not a, what's it going to be 5 or 10 years? You can directly see the correlation between tapping into that and not stressing yourself about the loan while you go through that construction process, which is a whole nother experience.
Another thing that I've heard people, and I think this is another brilliant idea if the timing's right for you. I hear people from time to time say, Joe, and I'm looking, I'd love to buy a second home over in this area, or I'm looking to retire in this area. But guess what? Most people plan, right? So people always say, I'm looking to buy something on the Central Coast in 10 years. And you would say, 5 years. You could do that now. Think about it. I mean, a lot of people want to get into a market before they retire. This is really happening a lot today with equity and investments and really financial planning your future. And so, Steve, this is another example, right? You're here in the Silicon Valley. Your home's worth $2-3 million. You owe almost nothing on it. You could access the money from that residence and go buy that home potentially somewhere right now and maybe rent it out until you decide to retire or call it a second home. In other words, just all kinds of different things here.
Absolutely. And then we're getting into the next nuance of equity versus debt. And what's the difference? That's the base level of education that some homeowners don't necessarily have a lot of other diversified financial assets or maybe not as sophisticated financially. When you match up equity or you access equity so that the repayment of this is tied to the movement of the underlying price. That means that the investor's actually, it's not a bank, as we discussed. They're taking risk with the homeowner. So what you're effectively doing is saying, my goals are, I don't need so much more wealth in my home. I want another home for diversification. I want it for income generation. I have a whole myriad of reasons that I want to access this, and why the vehicle of choice oftentimes can be equity once people are educated, or a blend of equity and debt. So they may take out some loan, but they don't want to take out all the loan because they don't want to, I'm trying to get there 5 years out. I am where I am today, and I don't want to get myself so far out over my skis that I'm just, I might have less debt on this home, but then I actually taking out more on the other. Yeah, no, there's a lot of, and I don't know if I said it on this show, on one of my other shows, but the phrase I love is leverage instead of liquidate, right? Leverage instead of liquidate, or leverage versus liquidation. And that's a real simple concept when you think about it. Can you leverage your property without or instead of liquidating, right? So when we say liquidating, Steve, okay, so liquidating assets from your retirement, from investments, from pulling money from your home, but having a liability and a payment for it. Think about this. I got two words that Mark and I work with always. Instead of leverage, because people are like, oh, that's dangerous. Well, leverage is what it is. It's good if it goes up. It's bad if it goes down. What I like to say is this tool allows homeowners to maximize and then optimize. Okay. So if you maximize, it's like, can I get more cash? Okay, but can I do it in a way that doesn't put me over leveraged? I see. Okay, so I think leverage sometimes has a negative connotation. That's a good point. Yeah. And then what I really optimally want to do with my life in the earlier example is I want to generate income. I want to have that retirement home, and I want to get into it now where I can rent it out before I might later want to move there, sell the primary. I might want to move there, rent my primary out for 2 years, and that's that's a whole nother, that's a tax planner, tax strategy.
Right.
That's where this, so I like to say that you can maximize your home wealth and then, ideally optimize it. And so we like to say that by combining this with knowledge and mortgages in reverse, in lines of credit and equity share products, you're able to provide homeowners the tools, solutions, and strategies to more intelligently manage what's your largest asset. People don't normally think of I'm actually managing my home wealth. They just sit there and they go, I either borrow against it or I sell. Now you have the ability to
yeah. A few minutes left still, but I just want to make sure I remind everyone. So a couple different ways you could reach Steve. One, you could go to bundleselect.com. Just go to the contact form, fill out some basic information, and that's really just real simple information that Steve or Mark can contact you, or they could contact you guys directly, right? What's the best way to do that?
Sure. You can just go to our website at barastone.com. That's BARASTONE.com. We also have another site that tells just some generic information, which is homeliquidity.tools.com. And that's just an informational site. Those two other ways that you can request information, talk to us, etc.
What other things are you seeing now that you guys are back out really getting this in the forefront? Do you have any other examples of how people are really using this program?
Yeah, entrepreneurs. We talked at the break. Not Joe, it's Jack. And his show. Many people want to launch a business. Getting a line of credit or a business line is super challenging when you're at a formation stage. Now, if you were to take out a loan or a second against the house, most financial planners, advisors would say to you, that could be risky. Because the entrepreneur, he's an eternal optimist.
Risk taker
it's
anyway.
Never going to, and so you don't want to over-risk. Okay, so real examples are people who have either launched a business, because if the business is successful, it's going to be worth a lot more than that piece of future home value. The second is they want to expand a business. Okay, so I think when people are thinking of loans or things that this can do, launching or expanding a business. Somebody might have a lot of home wealth. They just left a career and they're looking to launch a business, and accessing that using equity instead of debt is really attractive because you're not necessarily worried about on the hook if it fails.
We should probably have Jack come introduce the show, the three of us. And the reason why is because there's many times, he sees investors all the time or startups, and I'm familiar with them too. But, and I don't want to get off topic, but kind of what we're talking about is if you have any idea or, what happens in the startup world when someone's starting a business, it could be a very simple startup where you need 25 or 50 grand, or it could be more where you need, 400 or 500 grand. But here's what investors always look for when you approach them for the first time. They want to know how much skin you already have in the game. Right?
All the time.
It's understandable, right? If I have a great idea and I haven't spent a dime, but now I'm asking you for $1 million or a couple $1 million bucks, one of the first questions they think, well, it's a great idea, but how much skin do you have in the game?
It works great with my kids. It's amazing how much better my kids take care of their cell phones or their cars when they've got a little bit of skin.
Isn't that funny?
Right?
It's true.
And you never outgrow it. Right, so it's a good way to keep things goal congruent.
Yeah, no, and I think my point here is you talked about the ability to use these funds to start a business, and a lot of people start businesses all the time, and it can be very simple or more complicated. But the question what a thought around this is that when someone sees that you've got your own time, equity, money, sweat equity, and money in an investment, that gives you more opportunities and opens more doors. So this is just another way to do that.
Absolutely. Real quick, we actually did it. We helped an entrepreneur that was looking to raise their seed round. And as you can imagine, a seed round, hey, I need $200,000. And he said, if I had the money in cash, or I would liquidate stocks, etc. But that would cut it too close to the bone. Right. But he did have a couple of homes, and he's one of his primary residents. He said, "I'll do a home price movement agreement." Right. We provided him the $200,000. It was about 6 or 9 months later. He was actually able to got through the proof of concept. Wow. Instead of giving up half of the company, he was able to raise an additional $2 million and give away 10 or 20% of the company.
No, it's amazing. There's all kinds of different things that you could do. Before we close out here today, if you think about the traditional way, what do you do with your home? If you need money, if you need to access money? The old way of thinking, the traditional way of thinking is get a mortgage, get a first mortgage, get a second mortgage, and then recently maybe a reverse mortgage. But remember, the reverse mortgages are very limited. There's criteria behind that. You have to be a certain age. You still have to qualify, so to speak. There's some parameters that have changed around reverse mortgages, too.
And they also compound regardless if your house goes up in value. So that's something to be concerned with.
Yeah, that's very true. So one of the aspects I think, Steve, before we close out today, I wanted to get through to people, and I know you do, is that a new way of looking at things, right? Just to take a new way. Just like people say, well, look at what the iPhone's doing now, or look what Uber's doing, or look what a lot of these different things we talked about are doing. Keep in mind that this is a new world in which we live in, and you would be surprised. It is amazing how many hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars monthly, yearly go into startups and investments and all and this industry, by the way. Do yourself a favor, look up fintech. And just take a quick peek, do a Google search for fintech, and your mind will be blown. And I guess my example before we close out is there is so much money going after change, and because people understand that the world is changing, and this is too.
Well, in the last comment to that is the price of taking a business or an idea to the market because of software costs and because of all the fintech that's done has actually gone down. Yeah. So you can actually successfully launch a company with a few $100,000 now and have a lot of bang for your buck, whereas 10 years ago you really didn't have access because the road had not been plowed yet.
Very good. All right, before we duck out one more time, if you want more information, go to bundleselect.com, go to the contact form, or, of course, like a lot of you do, just email me or call me during the week. I get those emails and calls during the week for certain things. And lastly, bearstone.com, and then they can contact you there if they have any questions directly.
Yeah, bearstone.com or homeliquiditytools.com.
Great.
Either one.
Good. Thanks, Steve. Another good show.
Great. Thanks, Joe.
This is Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live. Thanks again for checking in. As usual, for more information, you can go to RERadiolive.com. Until next time, take care. Have a great afternoon.
You've been listening to Real Estate Radio Live. For more information on today's program, visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Subscribe to our podcast. Discover more at RERadiolive.com.